Let's start with the functionality for searching for assets. Here, we would recommend that you use the quick search page, which offers a convenient combination of searching and also managing an asset collection. The quick search page has two main modes of operation. The first one is searching for assets in general and not related to an assessment that you were the originator of or that had been shared with you. The second is exactly the opposite, searching for assets related to an assessment. The process that we recommend you follow in general when using this page is, first of all, making up your mind whether you would like the search to be related to an assessment or not. By default, it is not related to any assessment. Then deciding whether you want to have a new collection or use one of the existing collections in order to save your search results in, and then perform the search. Let's take the two cases in turn. First of all, let's look at the default of not having a selected assessment. In this case, in the left-hand column of this page, we will see that you have the different filters for searching. In particular, you have an empty spider diagram because it is not populated with any assessment. And you can use with this spider diagram in order to enter the MRLs for the different dimensions of interest that you would like your search results to be either equal to or greater than in terms of their own MRLs. So for example, we may want to search for assets which have certain MRLs on the structure and governance and process coordination dimensions. Let's say that for now we want to do this search and save results in the new collection. So we don't want to select from one of the pre-existing collections. We enter our search results. So let's say we want the search results to have an MRL of at least 2 on structure and governance and at least 3 on process coordination. We enter these elements visually onto the spider diagram, and then we can click search assets. The results show in the second column, and for each of them we can read some information, and interestingly, the median rating that was given by any previous users who have rated this asset. We can expand to read more, in particular a larger description of the asset, and importantly a URL that can take us to the page of that asset. We can scroll down and decide to read more or read less about any of the assets. And then we can make up our mind whether we want to include any of the assets into the collection. Let's say we decide to go with 3 of the assets. We select them and we click Add Collection. Because our collection is a new collection, we are asked about a name for this collection, which has maximum 10 characters. Let's say we want to call this Scotland Assets. Okay, and we click Submit, which means that a new collection has been created for us, and also the 3 assets have been added to this collection, as we can also see in the green confirmation at the top of the page. We can further read more about the assets from the collection itself, and we can decide whether all of them are still relevant for the collection. Maybe once we do this, we realize that the second one is in fact not that useful, so we may want to remove it from the collection. To this end, we need to tick the checkbox and click Remove from Collection. We will now see that we are left only with the first and the third asset, and we also got a confirmation about this. Let's look at another case where we no longer want to save our results in a new collection, but we want to use an existing collection. Each time we change the collection, our search results will refresh. So please have that in mind. Let's say that we want to use a pre-existing collection named Demo Scotland, where we already have an asset. Let's say we want to do a similar search, and we want to add another asset to that collection. We will see the asset simply adding itself to the collection. And as before, we can also remove assets from the collection. Let's now look at the second context, where we want to add assets for a collection, but the search should be about a certain assessment. So we need to select an assessment from the first column. Let's say that we are interested in this assessment, which will show the maturity levels on the different dimensions visually onto the search spider diagram. We also, as the second step, as always, need to decide where we want to save any assets that we decide on. Do we want to put them in a new collection, or do we want to use one of the pre-existing collections that were related to this assessment? Let's say we go with the second. As before, we can perform our search. Let's say this time we're looking for assets that have an MRL of at least 2 on the dimension readiness to change. We search the assets and we get these results. Let's say we only want to look at the results which were authored by the Scottish government. To this end, we can open the More Filters option and enter the Scottish government in the author name. We can search again, and this narrows down our results to the 13 results that were only authored by the Scottish government, as we can see here. As before, we can simply select one or more assets, and we can decide to add them to the collection. Please note that if any assets already existed in the collection, they won't be duplicated there, but only new assets will be added.